Hello, welcome to Hellotouf, the YouTube channel for media, tech and film reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Let's have a quick look at the trailer.
We built these ships, dredged these canals in the San Francisco they never knew existed. This is our home. You two stick together.
I always come back to the old house. What if it's empty? What if we just peeked inside?
We could throw parties. You could put on one of your plays. We could yell.
Where is this house?
Our old house.
That's not your old house and that's not your neighborhood.
Hey, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear flowers in your hair.
Maybe he's right. What if we shouldn't be here? Well, we should be here more.
Some millionaire.
You leave, it's not your loss. It's San Francisco.
I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this.
But I'm not leaving. I'm the last one left.
I'm with you, brother.
The Last Black Man in San Francisco is a film directed by Joe Talbot. Joe Talbot also wrote this film with the lead actor Jimmie Fails, and Joe Talbot and Jimmie Fails are actually very, very good friends, having grown up in San Francisco. The two lead characters in the film, Jimmy and Montgomery, are basically two characters that are basically best friends, and they've grown up in the city. And the whole film revolves around the premise of their friendship in the city. I love the opening montage scene because actually it's all shot in slow-mo by the cinematographer Adam Newport Berra, and it's really interesting to see this kind of premise of, you know, this closeness to the city, this kind of vibrancy to San Francisco. It's almost like Joe Talbot and the cinematographer want to show essentially sort of like what San Francisco is really about, the colourful characters that are in the city in the opening montage. It's really good to see how the opening scene kind of like really brings you into the two characters' worlds, Jimmy and Montgomery's world. I mean, you see them as characters and they say, let's skate. And obviously a skateboarding film for me is like awesome. I love skateboarding anyway and watching skateboarding. So to see that as a premise, as part of the film is really good. But actually it's a really good device in terms of filmmaking because a skateboard is quite an interesting way to traverse the city, to travel around the city, because actually you haven't got a car, you're not closed off, you're not on a motorbike where you're shielded and protected, you're on a skateboard. And the two guys basically skateboard together in the opening scene, and they go through all the city and they see San Francisco for what it is. They're kind of seeing it from the ground up. They're closer to the ground. They're, you know, if they fell off the skateboard, they'd be on the ground. But the point is that actually the earthiness of that kind of mode of transport is really important for the storytelling in the film. And it gives you a real kind of structure to how the film develops going forward. The main premise of the story is Jimmy and Montgomery kind of like are basically friends, and they live together. Jimmy lives with Montgomery, also with Montgomery's blind grandfather, played by Danny Glover. Danny Glover's a great actor, as you probably know from the Lethal Weapon films. Jimmy has an estranged father and mother and has clearly been brought up in care homes, which is why I think he's basically staying with Montgomery with his grandfather, because Montgomery and Jimmy's friendship is the main crux of the story, and they're two friends that live together. There's no subtext to it, they're just friends really, and it's wonderful to see a film which is actually just purely kind of focusing on friendship between two guys. But essentially what the idea of the story is that Jimmy has this connection, obviously, with his estranged father. They obviously clearly lost a home, and Jimmy and Montgomery go to this place every single day, to basically this house where Jimmy's family used to live when his family were together. And the whole story kind of revolves around Jimmy living this dream of wanting to be able to get this house that, you know, is kind of like completely out of his reach. I mean, the house is beautiful, and it's basically a mansion-ish kind of house in San Francisco, in central San Francisco, and it's kind of valued at like $4 million, and like, you know, it's impossible for him to get. He generally annoys the residents of the house and essentially kind of, you know, paints the window skirting and all the rest, and the residents kind of like, you know, get out of here, like leave us alone, and this and the other. But actually, when the residents actually have a family situation, they go away. Jimmie and Montgomery kind of exert their squatters' rights, and they kind of like move into the house, which, you know, obviously is not something you would do, but essentially because Jimmie wants the house so bad, he wants to exert the squatters' rights to be able to claim the house in the long term. It's really hard to pigeonhole The Last Black Man in San Francisco because there's such wonderful characters in the film. The film touches on sort of like film techniques from, say, Jim Jarmusch or Wes Anderson, and the main focus is Jimmie and Montgomery in terms of their living their dreams or wanting to achieve the dreams they want to have and how they want to dream big in San Francisco. There's some really interesting characters in there, like, you know, Danny Glover's a blind grandfather. There's also a gang of like, you know, 4 black youths, and they're really funny as well because they kind of remind me of the Black Crows in Dumbo. You know, those kind of like gang of sort of like, you know, people, or the group of collective people that kind of just like love each other and kind of take care of each other, but they're also kind of like, to the outside world, they're like, you know, caricatures or funny and this and that and the other. There's really, really wonderful acting in this film, and it's really interesting to see how Jimmie and Joe Talbot kind of formulate this film, because it's really about the American dream, and it's kind of about, you know, 2 young black men living in San Francisco but also having to fight against the gentrification of the city. Now San Francisco, I'm sure 10 to 15, maybe 20 years ago was much different to how it is now, but I've heard that basically, you know, pricing and like in any major sort of like city, you know, house prices go up, and like, you know, the rich get richer, gentrification happens, people move to the city and they kind of buy all the property, and they live their lavish lifestyle. So the communities and the communities that have like less income or like lower to middle class get pushed out further to sort of the suburbs or out of the main city areas. So I think that's kind of one of the cruxes of what like Jimmie and Joe Talbot were trying to write in this film, and I think it's quite important to state that story of like, you know, what is the American dream, how does it exist, what can you achieve when you're in San Francisco. And the point is that actually it's really hard in this day and age to kind of really live the dream of a young man, and I think that's what Jimmie Fails and Joe Talbot were trying to say with this film. The Last Black Man in San Francisco is a really, really wonderful film. I think Joe Talbot is a first-time director. I'm not 100% sure, but it could be his first feature. But, you know, I'll put a link into IMDb page, and then you can kind of check out his profile there. Jimmie Fails is a wonderful actor and writer, and he really was quite a magnetic lead in this film. Jonathan Majors as Montgomery, as his best friend, was just absolutely brilliant. There's a really, really good scene sort of towards the end, which, you know, kind of talks about and highlights the scene of actually Good Will Hunting, when he's in the psychiatrist's office and he talks about the Winslow Homer rip-off painting, and there's an element of that in this film which is really, really important, but it's also about, you know, journeys and, you know, living the American dream and going west and deciding what you want for your dream, whether you're dreaming big or dreaming small. The Last Black Man in San Francisco gets 4 out of 5 from me, so it's in cinemas now, and please do check it out. Thanks for watching that review. I will be basically going to Camera Image in Poland next week, and I may be meeting Adam Newport Berra, the cinematographer of The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So I'm hoping to be able to actually meet him, question him, and maybe talk to him about my short film, but also talk to him about The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know if I manage to get an interview with him, and it would be great to post his video up there, but I have to check with Camera Image to make sure that's all okay. Anyway, if you want to see another video, please click around here. I'll put it somewhere here, probably here, and also make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and please leave some comments below because I'd love to hear what you think about The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I will see you on the next one.